Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Adam Riza bin Yaakob, and I will be presenting about contrastive analysis of grammatical errors in English among Malaysian ESL learners on social media. Now, let's move on to the background. So the background of the study, wait, before that, this is the table of content. And I know it's a bit much, but I'll try to make sure that we'll go through it simpler. I'll try to simplify anything so that you guys can understand on what I'm trying to deliver. One, so for the background of the study, English is widely used in Malaysia, and it becomes a common thing in education on social media and social media. Learners often influenced by Malay, which is the first language, and also social media is the same meaning as informal and natural language use. So for the problem statement, Malay and English they have very different grammatical systems, especially in terms of tense, sentence structure, and the use of articles. Because of these differences, Malaysian ESL learners may transfer Malay structures into English. Therefore, this study focuses on analyzing these differences using contrastive analysis. So the aim of the study is to examine the grammatical languages, the grammatical differences between Malay and English, and to explore how these differences influence English usage among Malaysian ESL learners. As you can see, for the research objectives and research questions, this study has two main objectives, which is the first one is to identify and compare the grammatical structures of Malay and English, and second, to examine how these differences influence English usage in social media context, my bad. And for the research question, this study is guided by two research questions, which is the first, what are the key differences between Malay and English grammatical structures? Also, second, how do these differences influence English usage among Malaysian learners? Now let's move on to the literature review. So as we all know, contrastive, let's start with the first one, which is contrastive analysis. So for contrastive analysis, it is an approach used to compare two languages in order to identify their similarities and differences. In this study, the focus is on grammatical differences such as tense, auxiliary verbs, subject-verb agreement, and articles. Previous studies have shown that social media is a useful platform, a useful tool of observing real-life language use among learners. So here are some of the grammar differences that we can see, which is in Malay, we have no tense inflection, no articles, no subject verb agreement. And also, but in English, they have tense. They use auxiliary verbs and requires articles. And in social media, yeah, we use it as an informal communication, and we try to do it as natural language use. Also, it reflects real learners' behavior and good source of linguistic data. So for the methodology, this study uses qualitative research design and applies contrastive analysis as the main framework. The focus is on comparing grammatical structures between Malay and English. We got the data source from social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we samples around 50 to 60 ESL Malaysian ESL learners. So for the data collection, the way we collect the data is by select relevant posts and comments through Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and then we filter them they filter them on the English sentences, and we organize by grammar features. So here is the analysis framework, which is identify grammatical features, and we try to compare Malay and versus English, and we try to interpret the differences between the two languages. So now we go to our findings. My bad. The first one is tense. So for tense, we can see that in Malay, we do not use there is no verb change and uses time markers. But in English, the verb changes. For example, eat to ate. But in Malay, we didn't change the verb. We just add sentences. We just add words such as sudah makan. Makan is eat in English. But still, we can as we turn it into English, we turn it from ate to Malay, it becomes sudah makan. As we can see the example, you can see the example for yourself, which is I already eat, supposed to be ate, and yesterday I go school. But when we turn it into Malay, it becomes completely normal. There is no errors. There is no grammatical error if we turn it into Malay. But in English, it is different. Now, the auxiliary verbs. In Malay, there is no is or are. There's no is, are, but in English, it requires is, are. For example, she very happy, she very pretty, supposed to be she is very pretty. And he going now, supposed to say he is going now, or they are going now. But in Malay, if we turn it into Malay, as we say, dia sangat cantik. Still, it's perfect. Nothing wrong with that. And he going now, dia pergi sekarang. There's nothing wrong if we turn it into Malay. But again, if we turn it into English, it becomes different. Oh. Okay. Now, subject-verb agreement. In Malay, same verb for all subjects. But in English, the verb changes as we change the subject. For example, she eat rice and he go to class. If we turn it into Malay, it's normal. She eat rice, dia makan nasi. He go to class, dia pergi ke kelas. But if we turn it into English, it becomes an error. For example, she eats rice and he goes to class. Next is the articles. So for the articles, in Malay, there is no using of a and the. But in English, we must use articles such as I buy book, she is teacher. Sounds weird, but if we turn into Malay, becomes normal. Saya beli buku, dia merupakan cikgu, dia cikgu. There's no is or are. It's just normal sentences. But still, if you turn it into English, becomes weird. Now, let's move on to the discussion. For the discussion, I can say that what we are discussing is that these findings show that Malay and English are structurally different. And these findings may influence how Malaysian ESL learners use English, especially in informal contexts like social media. This study is important because it helps teachers understand students' grammatical challenges. It also helps learners become more aware of the difference between Malay and English. So to conclude, in conclusion, this study shows that there are clear grammatical differences between Malay and English, and contrastive analysis helps us understand these differences and their influence on English usage among Malaysian ESL learners. That is all for me. My name is Muhammad Mizami Yaakob. If I open to any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you when I see you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.